Who's excited for our third and last talk of the night? I'll be perfectly honest, we just found this guy underneath the Montague Street Bridge. I don't know who he is, but he says he's at the comedy show later, next month, so put your hands together, I guess.
Friends, hello, how are we feeling? All right. My name's Julian O'Shea, and this man has more sticks in his beard than anyone else in history. Today, my friends, we are talking about the wonderful and weird world of record breaking, in particular, the Guinness Book of Records. Make some noise if you ever read this as a kid. This one is the 1997 edition, or as one of my students recently called it, the late 1900s. So that was during the Second Elizabethan era. All right, now to get started, the Guinness Book of Records was created by the same company that was and is Guinness Beer. Now, can I just say, how weird is that, right? A beer company is deciding what world records are. It makes no sense. It's like if a tyre company was responsible for defining what fine dining restaurants were, which is exactly the case. Now, that is the Michelin Man, but when the Michelin Guide came out, it was the 1920s. He did not look like that then, did he? That is what he looked like. He was the cigar-smoking hero of your nightmares. Bib and Dep. And here's how it worked. Basically, 1 star meant worth a stop. 2 stars mean worth a doer. 3 stars meant worth its own trip. And can I say, this marketing worked. More people bought tyres. More tyres got used. More tyres turned into dust. They have to buy more tyres. And this was a great marketing success. And absolutely nothing went wrong. And it was really just an achievement in marketing all round. So the Guinness Book of Records started under the exact same reason. So here's the origin story. The year was 1951, and this is maybe the most posh English sentence I've ever read. The managing director of Guinness, Sir Hugh Beaver, was on a hunting trip in Wexford, and his party couldn't agree which game bird was fastest. That is not him. If you don't know what that picture is, just ask your nerdiest friends. They'll tell you. But that's where it started. Because you got to remember, this was a period where this kind of existed. This was life before the internet. Imagine you didn't have the internet and you just had a thought. Who was the actor in such and such? And you just couldn't solve it. So this was a thing of the era, was like arguing with your mates over beers. And the solution was this. What if we made a book that had all the facts in it and it would solve bar bets forever? So that job was handballed to these gentlemen, Norris and Ross McWhirter. They are a set of twins, and they were a part of a fact-checking company. They got given the job, and this is what they came up with. The first edition of the Guinness Book of Records. Now, I own a copy of this. It reads far more like an encyclopedia. It gives you facts about the world's largest mine and the longest railroad and some sports, some sports scores and records. Changed a lot, hasn't it? From that into this. All right, this took a bit of a spin, because what they found is that people really interested in the extreme records. People found that they really kind of gravitated towards that. And here are some of the famous, iconic parts of Guinness Book of Records. The person whose eyeballs pop out the furthest, and the longest fingernails. I wonder when you're given and the winner of the longest fingernails I'm like, you didn't win. I don't think you won. I really don't. Because there are essentially 2 types of records. One is where they track something that's happening in the world. So this is Robert Wadlow, who was the tallest person ever recorded to have existed, coming in at a huge 2.7 metres tall. And maybe the tallest person ever, or for certainly a long time, because now medical censoring is caught up, and these kind of conditions, pituitary glands, will be picked up much earlier in life. So part 1 is where they're tracking the world, and part 2 is the silliness. And that is the people that actually try to set records. So this is Ashrita Furman, and is one of the most prolific world record setters in history, because he competes in the highly competitive field of underwater cycling and pogo stick skipping. Now, I've got a feeling. Here's my question. Let's find out. Has anyone in this room set a Guinness World Record before? All right, let's hear some record breakers. We'll start over here. My friend, what are you the world record breaker in? Oh, the largest Macarena as a kid. I love it. Down the back. How many penguins were there? The most number of penguins. All right, over here, my friend.
The largest group of nude swimmers entering the water at once.
Synchronized nude swimming. How many people was it? Because we can leave right now and have a go. All right, anyone else want to share their record-breaking? Large number of people solving a Rubik's Cube. Again, how many people were there?
It was lots of, they did it online as well, so people could join on.
Fantastic. And did you solve it? Congrats, well done. So I want to tell you some stories about some records, good, bad, and ugly. Now, I gave you some of the characters, right? So we've got Hugh Beaver, the guy who came up with the idea. He handballed it to his twins. But there was one other character who took it to America. Said, that's a bloody good idea, let's do it. Now, this is the last paragraph from his New York Times biography. James Boehm was his name. Now, I want you to try to work out where this sentence is going. As a record keeper for the planet, Mr. Boehm was often well poised to pick up on emerging trends, maybe about record breaking, maybe about human psyche. He noticed goldfish getting progressively smaller. Biologist. And that's why eating the record number of them was less of an accomplishment. That's right, this was a thing. In the 1930s, here's where it started. This is Lothrop Withington Jr. I didn't think we could get any more posh. He's launching the trend of goldfish eating in the 1930s. This became a thing that for some reason we needed to break the glass ceiling for, so she was one of the first women to do it. This did not stop in the 1930s. He set the record in 1977 when he swallowed 501. Do you know why he swallowed 501? Because they brought 1,000 and he's like, well, that's going to lock in my victory. Wild. Imagine this is the last line of in your death notice. Here's what it says. The goldfish got down to the size of caviar, he said, in explaining why the Guinness Book of World Records dropped competitive goldfish consumption. Not because it's unethical, but because it was too easy. Oh, that is wild. Now, we live in Australia. By far, the most popular and famous record is this one here. That is former Prime Minister Bob Hawke, and he was in the book for his record in 12 seconds for consuming 2.5 pints. Now, did this change the country? Yes, it did. This feat was to endear me to some of my fellow Australians more than anything else I ever did. He notes of his 10 plus years in the Prime Ministership. It's become a thing. Julia Gillard follows in his footsteps. What did she say? Hawkey got more press coverage for downing that beer. Next time I make an announcement, expect me to do it with a beer in hand. This is political strategy. Now, you folks may be wondering, because you're a smart audience, wait a second, didn't I see a video on John Oliver or something, or YouTube saying Guinness Book of Records is a scam? Now, as I mentioned, there were two types of records here. There was the type where they kind of observed the world, and then a type where people challenge. Now, Guinness Book of Records was the best-selling copyright book of all time, according to the Guinness Book of Records, which to me feels like a conflict of interest. But book sales have obviously gone down for all types of books in recent years, so they've made a bit of a pivot. Guinness, the company, sold it to a media company. So now one of the line items, they've got a third type of record, which is essentially where companies can pay. They've become kind of a marketing and branding exercise in addition to the other things as well. So if you want to have you're launching a new gin and you're Snoop Dogg, you can set the world's largest gin and orange juice. But here's what they can do, right? If that had already been set, maybe they'd do the largest gin and soda or largest gin and pineapple juice. So essentially they have to do the thing, but they can define what it is they do. So whether you're trying to sell washing machines or be a pizza delivery service to the highest altitude on Earth, they will make a record for you. Now, up to you whether you think that that is, good, bad, or ugly. There's that thing where people they love nostalgia, right? Like people remember this as the good old days when it was selling beer to children. That's how it should have been. Now, I want to share you some of my stories in this space. I want to tell you a story about one of my record and kind of go through the process of what you need to do if you want to set a Guinness World Record. I was reading the paper and I came across this article. It said, this gentleman from Canberra skated at the highest altitude, 5.3 thousand metres in India. Now, I was heading to Chile to watch a total solar eclipse, and it was high up in the Atacama Mountains. And I'm like, if we're going somewhere high altitude, maybe this is a record we could break. So I got a backpack, I strapped a skateboard to it and made a journey. Happy with that animation? Yep. All right. So I'm there with my friend. Sam. Now, there was a few challenges, right? Because I was ready for this record with only two exceptions. One, I didn't know how to do high altitude, and two, I didn't know how to skate. But everything else, I was ready. Just to show how ill-prepared I was, I turned up to hike this volcano, yeah? And the guy just looks at me like how I'm dressed, and he's like, "You are going to die." So he gave me like an extra pair of like pants that barely fit. So I like take 2 steps, pull it up, take 2 steps. Don't know if you folks, anyone here climbed to the top of a volcano in Chile? Anyone? Me neither. That's what it looks like. You cannot skate there. Absolutely full of snow, no chance in hell. So we went back down, had a knockoff beer, unsuccessful, and we had to rethink our strategy. Essentially, we need to go somewhere where there was some kind of road or path. Now, fortunately, in this part of Chile is this. This is called the Atacama Hat, high altitude transport. This thing has thick reinforced glass. They pump oxygen into it so it can go to a high altitude. They've got all of these large tires. They can deflate so they can get over rough terrain. We didn't have access to that. This was my vehicle. So instead, we paid a driver. He put some weird liquid in his thing. He says, "If I turn my car off, we are stranded, but let's go for a drive." Now, we drove up to a very high point, as high as the path would take us, 5,700 metres. So that is higher than any point in Europe. It's higher than Everest Base Camp. Here's a video which tries to get across what it was like up there. The oxygen is about 50% of what it is here at sea level. So this is a bit of the vibe. So it's kind of what it was like. So can I say, perfect skateboarding weather. So I am out there, they're sitting in the car. The car is running because if it goes off, we have to walk down a volcano. And I am just scraping this path to try to get something which will move a skateboard 20 standard meters per Guinness rules. And I want to show you now my world record attempt at the world's worst skateboarding. Thank you. I watched the Olympics this year. Those kids are amazing. So I'm not going to compete there, but according to Guinness, bam, there we go. World record for high altitude skateboarding at 5,700 metres. But you might have a question. Who cares? Does any of this matter? So now we move to the philosophy section of this talk. Does anything matter? That's a bit up to you, isn't it? Because their slogan is officially amazing, but I note it is actually officially amazing trademarked. Nothing is official. Everything is made up. It's up to you whether you value something. Do we think the Olympics has the best athletes in the world? If you think so, that's fine. If not, that's totally fine. Do you think these entities should be legal and legit and totally ethical? Then sure. If you want to get the best sports people in the world, that is totally fine. Do these things matter? Yes, they do. No, they don't. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. But what it has done is it's let me go on a lot of pretty wild adventures with some friends and colleagues. While we're up there, we went for another record in high altitude things. We created a off-grid 3D printer, filled it with batteries. Nothing makes you look more like a terrorist as you're duct taping batteries, strapping them to a backpack and just heading into town. I went to China to try to set records for the most kilometres in a day on fast trains, taking public transport across Europe and riding silly bicycles with friends. Do the records matter? Maybe, maybe not. Do they matter to you? Well, that's up to you to decide. But I did think we could have a go at doing one right now. So I just found one like what is easy and attemptable here. The farthest distance to throw a tea bag into a mug is 10 metres, achieved by Oscar Liner, local boy. Is Oscar here tonight? Is anyone buddies with Oscar? Well, talk to him your next family reunion. Local kid. Okay. This is a mug. I've drawn an X marks the spot here. Now, there's a table 12 metres that way that has, I believe, a bowl with tea bags on it. This is so unofficial, mate. If you get this, you get no certificate, but you can practice. So, please, can someone on that table please stand up, stand behind the table line. 3 attempts. Here's the mug right here. Standard issue mug. Okay, we're going to throw on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, free tea bags for anyone in this line. And do you know what? Now all your brains are going, wait up, he's picked a too light tea bag. If I was going to attempt that, this is how they get you. Okay, person number 2 behind the line. Let's throw a tea bag into the mug in 3, 2, 1, go. That was way off. Your cousin is good at this, mate. Yeah. All right, we have one more attempt. After this, we are either going home with tea bags and a mug or we're going naked to swimming. One of the two. Mate, this is on you. There's the mug right there. All right. 3, 2, 1. Now, here's the thing. I know some of you came into this talk thinking these things are stupid and they don't matter, which is totally fine. But as you sat there, you were like, hope he makes it. If he makes it, I got a story to tell my mates about tomorrow. Friends, it's a weird and wacky world. On that note, I will end there and just say, I'm doing a comedy festival show where I actually talk about all of these stories. So this is the advertisement, sponsored content part of the thing. So please check it out if you're keen. Thank you very much.
I just want you to know that I'm very disappointed in you. We could have had a Guinness World Record here at Nerd Night, and alas. All right. Any questions for Julian? We have time for maybe 3. Yep, one at the back here.
Okay, so I set the world record for the greatest distance travelling on train in 24 hours. Japan, Shinkansen, China build a massive train network. I go, smash the record, whole new country, whole new distance, right? Someone goes there, and I don't care if records get beaten, do it, that's fine. But did exactly what I did, and then took the train from Central to Flagstaff Station, and I'm like, you just did my record plus 1 metre, and so that one annoyed me. So they are my nemesis. The question was, who is your record-setting nemesis?
Alrighty. Any other? Yep, one just at the front here. Do people make a career out of breaking records?
I don't think so. You could maybe get some work on the speaking circuit, because I love the idea of getting one of those big clients turning up at Google and saying, folks, live your dreams, yeah? Aim high, and one day maybe you too could throw a tea bag into a mug. It is not a lucrative endeavour. It costs you nothing to set a record if you don't want, unless you're a company, but it also does not pay anything.
I'm going to interject with one of mine that I just thought of. What do people get? Is it just your name, somewhere, or?
And a embossed sheet of paper that says, you got a record.
Just like my doctorate.
Yeah.
Okay, one up here, please. Do you have another record that you're trying to attempt soon?
My friend Sam, who comes on a lot of my silly adventures, there's a record for most countries walked across in a fixed period of time, a week or 2 weeks or something. And that sounds nice. Go to Europe, find where all the countries are quite close together, and just walk across Switzerland for a week. That sounds like a nice, a fun adventure. I don't want to collect them just because, the idea of growing a beard just to jam toothpicks in them doesn't excite me. But anything I can get a silly story out of, sign me up for that.
Okay, maybe one more. I don't know who's had their hands up the longest. Do both? There's 3 though. All 3. I think that person at the back there, I might have skimmed over a few times. The silliest, most outrageous record? Is that? Yep.
I think it's all on taste. I think it's all on what's your taste for silliness. I do find the public record fails incredibly hurtful and cringy, and I love cringe comedy, but there is someone who was attempting to set the record for the most coconuts smashed with their bare hands, and probably practiced and could do it, but had done it at home with these really ripe, about to crack coconuts on rubber rings. Instead, turns up on TV. They're really fresh. None of them snap, and he's just hitting his hand into metal for 30 seconds, and I'm like, buddy, no.
Okay, maybe one more.
We're not finishing on that note.
This person at the back here. The most meaningful record.
Ooh. I think they recorded. I could be wrong, but they recorded the persons whose blood donor saved the most lives, and it's the people with that certain type of protein. Someone in this room knows all about it, which is just amazing. They're called the golden donor, and they saved truly thousands to hundreds of thousands of lives. So that's a good one. That's better than my nonsense.
All right, put your hands together for Julian.